Hello and welcome back to Watch Companion. I am Jason. Today, I want to cover 5 of the most popular and sought after Rolexes today. Of course, that is just my opinion. Others may think a different model is more sought after than what I've chosen, but let's begin. So let me grab the first watch right here. This is the Rolex Steel Daytona. There are many variations of the Daytona: platinum, gold, two-tone, but nothing is more mythed than the Steel Daytona, specifically the Steel Daytona with the white dial. The drive to get this watch is more surged by its value on the secondhand market rather than its juxtaposed beauty. I get it, this watch currently is on the secondhand market selling above 50K. That's crazy. Can these prices sustain? Probably not, but they won't be going down, too much. I anticipate they will go down to closer to the low 40K range and sustain about there. The hype of this watch is driven by flippers mostly. What really determines the price of any watch is what someone is willing to pay for it. So let's say this watch is listed for 50K and it sells for that. The next time it is listed, it'll be listed for 51K. People trying to make a profit, so I understand. Retail though is 14,550. So why is this watch so desirable? I have to say, first, this watch really, it's a pretty piece. The black and white contrast, it just really works. Regarding practicality too, this watch has a stopwatch, and this is also called a chronograph, making it one of the more useful complications of any of Rolex's watches. There are 3 subdials on this watch. The bottom is the seconds, and the 2 others are the chronograph. There's a lot of history to talk about, but this is not a full review. I will make one at some point in the future, but let's move on. So let me just put this on one of my displays here, and we'll move to the next watch. All right, so let me grab the second watch. What is it gonna be? What's it gonna be? The second watch is the Rolex Pepsi. Now, the official name for this watch is GMT Master 2, but collectors, fans colloquially call this watch the Pepsi. And that's mostly because of its jovial blue-red colored bezel. Although it's not official, if you search Pepsi on Rolex's website, you'll still be directed to this model. This watch features 4 hands, 3 being the normal second, minute, hour function. The 4th hand is a special 24-hour travel time hand that can be set independently. This watch comes in many variations: a gold version or steel version, an Oyster style bracelet or Jubilee style bracelet like we have here. If you look at the pricing for this, similar to the Daytona, but not as severe of a secondhand price inflation, the secondhand market, it's around $26,000 for this watch. But retail is $10,750 currently. So it really is a nice watch. So let me get this now on one of our stands we have over here. So if you do want more information about this watch, I will do a full review at some point. But for now, we're going to move on to the third watch. All right, so let me grab the third watch. Let's see what we're gonna be revealing. So the third watch is the Oyster Perpetual. The Oyster Perpetual is probably the simplest watch of all of Rolex's models. But this is not what makes this line of watches very desirable. Rolex is a prudent, old-fashioned company. Rolex doesn't really release anything what you could call fun. I know. In 2020, when Rolex released bold, or rather bombastic, dial colors, everybody wanted them to collect these models because they are, just different from all the other Rolex models. The yellow color, and also this one I'm holding here, the coral color, has since been discontinued after only being available for 2 years, making them more of the desirable options. Not really a shock they were discontinued because looking at this watch, this isn't really, screaming Rolex. When the Perpetuals were out, they were retailing for $5,600. Looking them up now on the secondhand market, they are going for around 3 times what they were originally, so $17,000, $18,000. Simply looking at these watches, they have a polished bezel, no functions or fluting, just simplistic. The bracelet is a classic 3-piece Oyster bracelet. The dials, they stand out for themselves. They are just really sharp. More of a fun summer walking around piece, maybe for parties, not at all for a formal occasion. All right, so let me get this watch now on one of the podiums, and we'll move on to the next watch. Of course, I will also be doing a full review of this watch, but that will come at a later point in time. All right, so let me grab now the fourth watch. Let's see what we're going to be revealing. I'm starting to run out of space over here in my tray. So I'm just going to get rid of that now. The fourth watch that we're going to be talking about is the Rolex Submariner. And this watch is probably the most recognizable sports watch, specifically the steel variation. This watch, of course, comes in gold and two-tone variations just as the other watches do. But there is something that is just great about the black on black feel. You really can wear this watch as a work watch, but subtly flaunt you have a 10K piece of jewelry on your wrist. Many people also call this watch the doctor's watch for this reason. The Submariner has a unidirectional bezel, and that would be used to calculate dive time, but in today's day, most are not going to be using this watch for diving at all. The watch has a 3-link brushed Oyster bracelet, similar that we have with the Oyster Perpetual that I talked about before. We also now have the classic Mercedes hour hand and pencil-shaped minute-second hands that we did not have on the Perpetual. You would find these same kind of hands on the Pepsi that we talked about. So what is special about the Submariner? It has a mechanism in its clasp called glide lock, which really allows a huge adjustment flexibility in the bracelet. All right, so now let me grab one of my podiums here and we'll move on to the next watch. All right, so we're up to the last watch, the fifth watch. So let's see what we are going to be revealing. All right, let me just get rid of that. So the last watch is the Rolex Datejust. It is a very classic and beautiful watch. These watches have a fluted bezel, which really just means it is faceted, giving it, a huge shimmer. From this, it really is eye-catching, the fluting. These are great formal watches. It is also, for most, their first and maybe only Rolex. It used to be if you go into an authorized dealer, these watches, the Datejust, they were everywhere. But now if you walk into a dealer, you really can't get anything. So the Datejust comes in a typical 3-link Oyster bracelet that we've seen with these other watches. They also come in a 5-link Jubilee bracelet that we find on the Pepsi. I find that the Oyster is more fancy and the Jubilee is more sporty. But it, of course, is your preference. There's so many different dial options for the Datejust, and Rolex usually releases new options every year, some more fun than others even. Okay, so let me grab the last podium. Let's see if I can make this fit. I don't even know if it's gonna fit here. Should have tested this out before. But let me do some kind of spacing here. There we go, I can make it fit. All right. Alright, so these were just Rolexes that I find personally are the most, talked about right now. I really covered a lot of different options, more than just the 5. Let me know, what is your favorite Rolex? Which Rolex have you been wanting or enjoy the most on your wrist? Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next one.